This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, top of the day to all you, or I should say top of the writing day, the publishing day to all of you. So welcome to this week's podcast for your author and book publishing success. And as always, as we go through, I'm going to give you a variety of ahas. Today's topic is on crowdfunding, and there are a lot of new information I'm going to be sharing to you that really comes hot off the press of what happened in the preceding year of 2021. So I'll give you some tips, insights on how to be successful going forward with the crowdfunding program, which I think is certainly viable, which sites you should be using, and much more. So let's get started. And what I want to do is really, let's do some kissing. Kissing on what happened. What kind of overview has floated around and altered in this world. And a lot has happened. For example, I can tell you when I wrote my crowdfunding book, the crowdfunding guide for authors and writers, which, by the way, I have just done a full-blown rewrite that will be available from February on in 2022. But it used to be that only 29% of all publishing crowdfunding related connected literacy connected were successful. Okay, the good news is that's increased. Now it's roughly 35%. So it's still, you want to be a member of what I call the minority club. Only the minority of crowdfunding campaigns, whether it's for the publication of a book, whether it's for the illustrations, whether it's to support the marketing, whether it's bringing it totally out of the writing ground, fill in the blank, only 35% succeed. So there are tips and tricks I'm going to give you throughout the program that will get you to that level that you're going to shine above the crowd. So with that said, crowdfunding in general, $17 billion was raised last year. 17 with a B, $billion. And that crowdfunding, I don't know if COVID was a factor, if it was an element that you had from COVID where people were locked in and they had more focus on it. I have no idea. But 33% increase in overall that. Worldwide, there was over 6 million campaigns last year, and averaging, they raised $28,000 each. Now, actually, there's some change in there, $28,656. But the reality is that with all that going on, how do you get a piece of that action? And should you be go after your 28,000? No. Remember, we're talking about there's some tech things. One of the biggest hot in the related field of publishing, but it kind of has a subset, is comics. Huge amounts of money go into comics. It is stunning with that. And actually, I love that idea because I learned how to read by getting comic books. That's how I learned how to read as a little kid. All right, that. The average amount raised by all compounding raised. Now, this is what successful campaigns raised, 28,000. That's where you can get technology, the geeks, all those kind of things, and the gamers in play. The average amount raised by all crowdfunding is under $1,000, like $824. Now, that's not where you're going to be going. If you're doing a crowdfunding program for your book, you're looking at anywhere from $5,000 probably to $10,000. That's really, and the samples I'm going to talk about during today's show were in that range. One did go over 20,000, but they're going to be in the under 10K range, which is more reasonable and people are looking on. But again, there's tips that got them there. So with that, that typically people want to know, how many people do I need to have support my program? The average was 47 backers. And fully funded projects that, average over 300 backers in that. And this is what I think is an interesting stat, because that will have effect to do with, how you're going to price your rewards out. What are you going to go about? Typically, in the old days, and I'm talking 5 years ago, the old days, that 45 was the sweet spot. Now it's around $75. It seems to be the sweet spot. But again, it's going to be tied in with what your campaign's about, how compelling, that's an important word to understand, how compelling it is, enticing to bring them in. And also tied in, so what's in it for the supporter, the donor to your project. So that's going to be a factor in that. It is projected. Now let's talk about what's coming down the pipe. This is, when this is live first in 2022. By the end of next year, it's projected there'll be over 12 million campaigns. Again, what is it going to make you to stand out? All right, and continuing it, there are regular followers out here. And that if what you want to know is that once you get someone to support you, to back you, the probability of them coming back to the gate and maybe popping in a little bit more to support you because they like what's going on, they see the campaign is moving forward, that one of the ways you do that is, and it's going to be the primary way, is you communicate. You send updates. This is what's happening. This is exciting. People are getting involved. People are talking. When you do updates, you have 126% probability of succeeding with those who don't. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the other thing is, I have always said, to be successful in a crowdfunding program, you've got to have some ducks lined up here. And I will get authors coming to me saying, I want to do a crowdfunding. And I'd like to do it, in the next 2 weeks. Well, I'm going to say that's probably not a good idea, because there's work to set up to get it going, from having the video that I'm going to recommend, from having, that compelling statement that grabs, to having the right content on your crowdfunding page, to literally, and this is the sweet spot where it happens, people already committed. And this number basically hasn't changed, that you need roughly 30%. If you're trying to raise $10,000, all right, we're talking about 30% is $3,000. If you're trying to raise $5,000, we're talking 30%, is your $1,500 in here. And that means that those monies are committed from family, from friends, from somebody, that those people step up to the plate as soon as your campaign goes live. Bang, they come into the door and they start coming in. Number one, it shows on the stats that there's backers, backers are in play, that they can see what's going on, and that they're ready to party with you. All right. And that is you see these numbers start to accumulate, 3 backers, 5 backers, 10 backers, 12 backers, 1,000 raised, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden the buzz goes out. Now, sometimes the buzz gets supported by the platform that you use. And we'll talk about the 3 platforms I'll recommend to you, that they'll come back and they'll actually put it out. There's action going on, pay attention here. There's also what I call crowdfunding voyeurs. There are people who love crowdfunding. You know what? They like to support new ideas. They like to support things. Some people just like to support gizmos and gadgets. Some people like to support games. Some people like to support, books, whatever it is. And they actually are looking for what's new, what's coming along. So that you want to, when you have that 30% coming in within those first 3 to 4 days, I'm talking 3 to 4 days, you will succeed. If you don't have it, you're going to be struggling and trying to put this together. Right? So that if you, I'm a firm believer that you will be sending out emails. Usually start this off with an email coupled with social media blast out. Why not do a press release that you're in the process? But that when you do email shares, and by the way, have a call to action, and do that also with your social media. Have a CTA, the call to action. Ask them to retweet, reshare, tell their friends. Ask them to do that. Why? Because 50% plus convert to donations. How cool is that? So those little tips will come in that. And when you're looking at the social media, Facebook are roughly 12%. Twitter is only a 3%. Now, that's just people who really don't know you. Maybe you're not active, but if you have an active group, you might be able to pop really fast here. There's flexible campaigns, and there's the all or nothing. Kickstarter is an all or nothing type of campaign. That ones that are all or nothing actually fully fund at twice the rate of the flexible ones. If you say that, let's say you're in a GoFundMe and you're asking for $10,000 and you got $3,000, guess what? You're going to get the $3,000. But if you were in the other, you could get much more. All right, with that, we're going to take a quick break. This is Judith Briles. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing, and we're talking crowdfunding today.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you? Or another? AuthorU shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual AuthorU extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. AuthorU is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover AuthorU, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join AuthorU today at AuthorU.org.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so we're talking about your crowdfunding campaign. I've bombarded you with a whole bunch of factoids and stats on what adds to your success factor. Now, your website, your campaign website is essential, and that a lot of people tend to get too verbose. So let's keep it down. The average word count for the successful crowdfunding campaigns is less than 500 words. That's total, all the pages involved. So 300, 500 will keep it going in that way. And we found, although that, in my writing community, a lot of the people are well over 55, that the most people who participate in campaigns are in the younger group, the under 35. And that if you have really worked, and I don't want to say milked, I want to say worked to build your influence, whatever your age is, and you've got your platforms out there, you've got your content out there, you deliver, whether it's storytelling or it's how-to related thing, it's an information drive, that what your expertise is. Age isn't a factor. Really, age isn't a factor. So that's what. Now, the successful crowdfunding campaigns will take a minimum, in my opinion, of 2 weeks. A minimum of 2 weeks. If you don't have, in preparation, if you don't have, and we're talking focused preparation, we're not talking about a dabble here, but a focused preparation, because you're going to have to do a quick video. And guess what? You don't need to have professionals in play. No. You've got a smartphone. You got a video on that. Talk from your heart. Make it short, less than 90 seconds. And why support you in your book, your campaign? And remember that if get away from the word cause or anything that sounds like causation, because that'll boot you out of Kickstarter if you're using Kickstarter. It's got to be the creation, the inventiveness that brings storytelling alive, to create a book that will significantly reduce the stress, etc. So that's that. Yes, does it have a cause to it? Yeah, it does. But we are not donating. This is not a donation type thing. There certainly, if you go over to like GoFundMe, on that kind of thing, you get into causations all the time. If they have a whole separate channel to go around if there's a 501c3 involved at all. But we're talking about your books on that. So don't say I'm, a percentage of all proceeds will go to the American Cross Association. Don't get into that, because that starts throwing flags out on that. But you could say that, you will be sharing, and you don't use the word donate, but you'll be sharing your books with libraries across the county for storytelling time for children, for example, if you had children's books and that kind of thing. All right. So, that if you look at the most completed projects, and let's talk about the gorilla, who really was the gorilla from the get-go, which was Kickstarter. They've had the most successful completed projects of any other platform out there. Over 319,000 projects were completed in all of them in there. And that when you have a platform like Indiegogo, which I'm going to mention later, they go, Indiegogo gets behind like causes for seeing the things you'll see, like, that maybe there's a tragedy, there's a fire, there's a fill in the blank, that they raise mega thousands of dollars. And Indiegogo is one of the leaders in the pack. But what the stats I've talked about, they really do demonstrate that the terrain is big. It comes with a lot of info that I've shared. And it truly is. Crowdfunding is one of the most accessible, successful ways to raise money for a project that you do not have to give back. So it's using other people's money. But there are people who believe in you. They believe in what you're doing. They believe in what you're creating with what you're making. And if you ever watch any shows like Shark Tank. I watch Shark Tank every once in a while. And it is very common for entrepreneurs, and by the way, you're an entrepreneur, as an authorpreneur, that they often start their programs looking, is there an interest? Is there an interest? Is there a buzz out here for my project, my work, my ideas, on concepts? And they start on crowdfunding. So this is very, very common. And you know what? When you reach that goal, and my goal is for you to be part of the minority, that 35%. When you reach that goal, you're going to write a press release. You're going to announce it. You're going to let people know. Now, reaching that goal has responsibilities, because you have now made commitments to who your donors were, that you're now going to give them stuff. Whatever your stuff is. Whether it's a t-shirt, which it could be, whether it's a special book signing for their group, which could be a wonderful reward that you could be for a book club. It's like calling all book clubs. I will do, a signing for $500 for your book club, which includes up to 20 copies of my book for each participant. And so everyone immediately knows, oh, wait a sec. So 20 times that, that's worth at least $300. Okay. So then they start mentally thinking, well, there truly is a value here. And then you're going to be there and you're going to talk to us about your book and ideas from that. It's ideal. The things that you can do here and play in the arena. So if you look through, I'm going to just continue on with some more of these stats as we go through, and then we're going to get into some step-by-steps, and I'm going to end up with kind of a cheat sheet for you. But last year in North America, let's just talk North America, over 17 billion was generated. Now, and you're wondering, so where is she getting all these stats? I use Statistica, but over 17 billion was raised in there. And as I said earlier, it grew by over 30%. And so we have that kind of thing that you want to remember about. The average is less than $1,000. Now, for your project, I think that and here's another thing you need to remember. When you do a project, there is a cost to it. This is not free. Okay, this is not going to be a freebie. There is a cost. There's credit card cost. A lot of times there are specific platform costs on that. And that, one of the platforms, it doesn't have an overall cost because they're doing this for the generosity kind of the vision of their founders. But there is the credit card plus an individual, like 30 cents. Every time there's a donation, there's another 30 cents added on. So that as you go through the overall, now I mentioned publishing because I think it's important. The overall success rate of all the crowdfunding programs that go out, that people are having the handout asking for stuff, is roughly 22%. Remember, publishing is 35%. So you have the better odds here, but you're still in the minority. Remember that you're going to need backers, and that average funding, you need around 300 backers in play, and that most of them, especially these big guys, they get a lot in. But if you have a program where the pledge, let's say it's in that $75 to $90 range, that if that comes into play, that there's still a lot of people that, say, okay, so I just want to be my name involved. I'm going to give you $10. Thank you. You're obviously going to thank them. And it used to be that $25 to $45 was that sweet spot. You got an ebook, or then you got a book. Okay, these are changing. Now we're moving it up, in these areas. So maybe you don't do all the 10, 25, and maybe you start at 25 for publishing. Maybe you should start at 25, skip the $10, and just start at 25 and let them know they'll get an ebook. Just start there, but then start moving it up, 25, 50, 75, 100. And I want you to think big here. I want you to think that okay, so what can you do for 500? What can you do for 1,000? What maybe can you do for a few $1,000s? Now, so you're thinking, wait a second, I'm going to go get a reward for a few thousand. Well, how about you? What's your skill? What's your time? What's your consulting? What are some of the things that you can do bundled together that really does have a true value, but in the end, it's going to just take your time. It's just going to take your time. Like if I was to do a crowdfunding program, I do certain ventures that have, anywhere from 300 to, several $1,000s onto it. I could do a crowdfunding program that maybe I would offer if you put in, say, $4,000, you will get a free cruise on my publishing. You'll get a slot for my publishing at Sea Cruise. Plus, you will get 2 hours of my time in one-on-one consulting, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I know that if they were going to pay for that individually, that's over $3,000 right there. All right, so now you're starting to play the game, and that's where we're at in that, and it makes it certainly much more interesting. People are more inclined to get involved, and they're looking for, okay, so what can we do? Who is this person? What do they have that I want, that I could use, that would make my life easier? I would be more in film, that would increase my skills. What? And that's what you're after. And that's what kind of makes it kind of exciting in this process as you go along. And I think that's what makes it fun in it. So tap into you. So start thinking about this kind of thing. Is crowdfunding in 2022, this new year, for you? And I bet it could be. So what are you going to be doing forward this year to make a difference for your followers, for your fans, heck, for yourself? And I'm not talking about just gathering money. I'm talking about creating a work, supporting an already established work, maybe a relaunching of a whole marketing of a book and going forward that maybe you're going to take across your state and do programs through your library, and this is what this is going to be used for. Who knows? The script is open. It's up to you. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so imagine an eBay type website for investing and donating, where you could log in and browse causes and businesses and find an investment or a situation that appeals to you, even a book idea. Imagine creating your own spot on that site where all those browsers can discover you and do a happy dance to see that your book project is exactly what they're looking to maybe support, to give some money to. Now, the monies can be as nominal as $10, $25, or well over $1,000. The contributor becomes part of the community, and over time, they can see the impact of what his or her donation or investment comes to. Now, how cool is that? This is what we're talking about when we look at crowdfunding. So, how would you like to fund your book project using OPM, other people's money, and not have to pay it back? Crowdfunding at its essence is exactly that, connecting crowds directly to those who need funds, like we authors. So, they offer a hassle-free way to find vetting and supporting individuals and you, organizations, etc. And this is what their sites will do, the websites will do. And it allows the people to find you. Now, you're going to direct some folks there, but to find you without using a middleman. It's more personal and it's impactful, and it gives you direct access to information and opportunities that were once the exclusive domain of people in the know. Today, millions of projects are funded this way. And in the case of authors, over 50,000 books are taken care of this way. So it's amazing how every $10, every $25 eventually adds up to many thousands. So before you, though, I've given you a bunch of stats and it all sounds salivating and all those things. But before you enthusiastically say, oh, yep, I'm in, I am going to do this, remember that you've got to be, you're in a club, you're in a minority club where roughly 35% succeed, 65% fail. So with that, this whole thing, publishing is an overwhelm for us in many different arenas. Is crowdfunding easy? No, it's not. It takes work. It takes planning. You need some timeline. And that you have to have a focus to what you're doing and where you start. Now, in my book, The Crowdfunding Guide for Authors and Writers, I highlighted a couple of people who I had the pleasure to work with. One of them is by the name of Ashley Bratton, who wrote a wonderful book called Life Before the Lottery, and the subtitle is the 30 by 30 list. And it was all about living beyond the bucket, living beyond in the now. And you don't have to be 85 and, okay, I'm on my last breath type of thing. No, she's saying you start doing this now. Now, Ashley is a fabulous professional photographer. Her goal was to raise $8,500 for her book project. And she did what we call is overfunding. She raised over $9,600, and she did it within a 30-day time frame. Now, they're saying today that typically crowdfunding is like up to 45 days. I would still try to push doing it within the month timeline just because it's tiring and you'd like to get it over with. So that's going to be a personal call of yours, how many days that you want to keep it live for. You certainly could do for 45 days, but that means that you need to stay on it and you keep pushing and all that. Now, one of the things where Ashley, in her case, was going to raise $8,500, what happens if you go over? What if you overraise? It's called overfunding. What do? I think it's a great idea to let people know if you raise in excess of your initial goal. And I would do this in a written statement on my crowdfunding page, as well as in the video. Kind of like wait. There's more. You could have maybe a second little video. If we raise more money, this is what we're going to do. I am going to be donating X amount of my books to support the local library. And I love libraries, so I always, like to support them. But it could be something else. And it could be that, remember, you want to stay away from use the word causation, especially if you're using Kickstarter. You go in there, but you could say that I will be distributing excess books that we can print because of the overfunding to the public schools in the Metro Denver area, which is my area. So I just threw that out. But you could be doing that kind of thing. And people think, oh, so if you've got a kid's book, that might be kind of cool. But it could also be for other things that you might want to do. It could be a book dealing with elderly care. And so where would you get that out to? All right. So you want to, going back to Ashley, that her rewards range from $10, where they got a sassy motivational postcard she'd put together, to $1,500, where it included a stay in a lovely B&B, bread and breakfast, in southern Colorado. She also had a couple of spots that were $1,000, where people could get her skills, that she would come in and do a photography session with them. And it was descriptions of what she would be doing with that. All right, those were all taken. They were all grabbed in that. And that's where your fans, this is where friends come into there, fans, followers that know about your work and your skills can really get involved in that. Now, another person, which I loved, an author who did a YA book. So you're saying, well, but, this is kind of Ashley was nonfiction. What about, what about YA? Sure. Why not on that? Charles Fisher did a book. He raised $7,800. His goal was to raise $78,000. He overfunded and went to $83,000. And his book was called Beyond Infinity. And he had a variety of rewards, as all the other programs do. And the big one, which had $1,000 price on, is that he would create, Charles was a teacher, create a customized workshop that worked on writing with students or adults. He didn't care which way he would go with that process. And he had takers for that, in that. But one of the fun things that he did for his video is he got his students involved. And they did it. Now, Diane Moroney did a wonderful book called Imagine. And out of this, the Imagine project has evolved to develop that she has taken globally, supporting to imagine what you could be, where you could go with that. She even does a online gala fundraiser to support and she has really reached down into the youth environment. Now, her project had 154 backers, and this was like a coffee table book, and she brought in, she was after 20,000, she brought in 22,000 plus in it. And that she offered everything from what she said was a hearty thank you for $1. She had $1 spot, to a song, to a signed edition, including that for $250, your name would be included on the appreciation page for the book. So there was a lot to offer. Now, one of the things that's very important for you to do in this process is to make sure that you go to the whatever platform you're considering, is go through and look up in their search box for successful projects, because you want to see what do they look like. And of course, pay attention to the date, because things have evolved from the year 215 to the year 221. But see what's involved. But look at successful projects. Look how they lay out their homepage. Look at how they do their video. Pay attention to what their rewards are on that. And I want you to pay attention in your genre. Start there first. I mean, because if you, let's say we've got a book project, but somehow you end up on the gamer section. Gamers are totally different. Now, one of the things that they do is like they understand the epic vision when they're describing their projects. Well, how about describing your epic book? Epic's a wonderful word to use. That for children, it will bring an epic experience to blah, 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 blah. And things like that will come into play and make a difference. But you want to make sure that you review what's worked. So you want to review successful projects, and the major platforms, keep those on so you can revisit those. And it will make a huge difference in what you're about in the process. So I am all for you going down that route. All right, so we're going to start looking at these majors, and I know we're coming up to our final break, but Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and GoFundMe are going to be your players as you move along in this. In the whole process. And that I know that there's a whole bunch of others, but these are the big boys. These are where people go in. They have followers, literally huge, millions of followers, that if they're looking for a certain project and going into it, that will help you in that process as you go along. So as you focus on here, with that Kickstarter has done, kicked it off in 2013, and it's raised, I remember with a big thing when they crossed over $1 billion. All right, so there are many billions now. And GoFundMe is also at since 2010. Came around, and it's done many billions as well. And then you look at the other one, the Indiegogo has also come along. And we'll talk about which ones that you look at. But your literary Kickstarter has done over 200 million in literary projects alone. That gets my attention. We'll be right back with our final break.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them, and from someone who knows publishing inside and out, from both the traditional and independent sides, how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com. The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, crowdfunding is the game for this episode of the AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. And that what I wanted to do is in this last segment, we have a very fast 12 minutes. We're going to kiss on here is talk about the essentials and then kind of a quasi cheat sheet for you. So let's start with a video. I've already mentioned it before. In my book, I mentioned 2 minutes. That's okay. But if you can do it in 90 seconds, I would sure go for that. It's about pitching your product. You need to have content. So what's the project about? What's your story about? Where are you going with that? You need a short bio of why are you the author? What puts you on the mark to do what you do in writing the book? Always use some images. Maybe if you have photos, illustrations within your book, share a few of them. It's always very cool. On that and supporting it. Even if you have a nonfiction book, if you've had it, I would have your designer, even if you're not in fully layout yet, take a few pages and come up with a mock-up of what your book will look inside that you could share. That image could go into there with some visual graphics. I'm not talking about line text in this. And your rewards. All right, your donors like supporting the project, and let me tell you, they love the perks. They love the perks. They love the rewards as well. So see what others have said, and also I want you to think about backup rewards. Look, sometimes the reward isn't a grabber. It just doesn't bring people in. If no one has subscribed to something, you have the capability of subbing out the old and putting in a new reward. Now, the other thing is, if you have backups, let's say you overfund, or let's say you're coming to the end of your campaign, and that you're almost there, you just got to get over that line. What about offering a bonus? You can go back to your original donors and just say, we're almost there. Help push me over the finish line. And if you do, this is the additional thank you gift from me to you. All right, so backup rewards. All right, remember those family to friends? We were looking for 30%. Who are they? Start making lists now. Who would support you? Who could you reach out to? Who could you do the ask? And this is not the time to be shy, people. This is your life. This is your book. This is your work. If they love you, I want them to support you. Ask. All right, set a time limit, 30, maximum 45 days. And remember what I said earlier in the program about people who send updates to people who are already committed to their followers, even if they haven't committed. But you're just sending updates out. You have over 100%, 126% probability of them coming back to the trough and giving you a little bit more money. Love that. All right, social media is very important. You're going to be shouting out on all your channels. I don't care if it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Pinterest, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, what. Also, your email list is so essential that you can do a stretch out that just say it's time to go, go, go. And I always like to put G-O, capital G, and then small lowercase o, and then G-O in caps. Go, go, go. to make that commitment. All right. And if you have any links over, if your website is appropriate, I would have it on my website, by the way. How about just putting a little banner that goes in top, crowdfunding, support our crowdfunding campaign right on your homepage that they can see, that they can come in and support, and you can link them back to there. If you have your book cover done or any of those kind of things that could start on the investment, and you want to think of, this is the why, this is the reveal, this is what it's going to contain, that you bring that into play. All right. So with that said, I just want to add a little bit more onto this pitch video because it really is so crucial. It can be quirky. It can be funny. It can be really serious. Could be a little scary, a little rattling, a little startling. But you're going to do it. In that 90-second thing, if you have a little background music, that might be kind of cool. But remember that you're the star. So you're going to make it personal, heartfelt, never arrogant. And remember, you talk to the camera. You talk to the camera. And that, where's the camera? Find out where it is on your computer. If you're using a laptop, it's really at the top. If you have a separate one that you do an attachment, wherever it is, that's the eyes that you are talking to. Don't let people think that you're looking down and reading on that. Unless you start off and you're looking, once upon a time, and then you put it down. And then you continue from there. All right. People can hear a smile in your voice. They pay attention to your tone. They pay attention to how you modulate it. So this is not where you read something that is, here's like from my book. Here's a paragraph. And I'll read it boring. Humor is fun, even a hint of silliness. Be you and allow some of your personality to flow, leaving a smile on your donors' faces, a feeling that you are delighted to have discovered you. Oh my God, is that boring? Humor is fun, even a scent of being silly. Be you and allow some of your personality to flow. Leave a smile. And you can feel yourself smile when you say smile. Leave a smile on your donors' faces, a feeling that they are delighted to have discovered you, as you are as delighted to discover them. All right, so a little bit different in those elements as that you go along. That written campaign is really important. Make sure that you have it edited. Please get other eyes on it, not just yours, because we all think things are supposed to say the way they're supposed to say. And, I'm talking about punctuation. I'm talking about the phrasing. I'm talking about, avoiding cliches, etc. Have it as someone who really does editing. Take an eyeball, see if they can spice up your words just a little bit to make you look snappier in the process. All right. So in our last few minutes, let's talk about this, some of the cheat sheets that you can do to just expedite this baby and get you moving forward in the whole process, because that's really important for you. I'm a believer in using a game plan. I actually have a game plan. If you email me, I'll send you the PDF of it. So email me at Judith@Briles, Briles.com, Judith@Briles.com. Put in the subject line, crowdfunding game plan, or send me crowdfunding game plan, and I'll send it to you. All right. So that's my little gift to you for this your time today and listening to it. All right. So let's talk cheat sheets. You don't want to get caught up, number one, this is really important, in what I call the RTP, the rush to publish. So the RTC, rush to campaign. You got to plan. It takes planning, plan. Successful campaigns all have planning in them. So what's your game plan here? 2, learn the rules and how to play the game on the crowdfunding site you choose. That's why I wanted you to go to look at successful campaigns of the past, which is number 3. Study them, learn from them. And you can do this very quickly on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. that GoFundMe is all over the place, and GoFundMe does a lot of the causations. You'll see the trauma, the drama, the horrendous things that happen where people are needing a lot of help in the GoFundMe platform. That's where they raise humongous amounts of money. Look at their videos, watch their videos. Remember, they're short, so you don't have to spend a lot of time here. Look at their content. What was their goal? How many days did they say in their campaign? Did they overfund or just come right in and kiss it? And by the way, let me make a suggestion to you, cheat sheet. Let's say you're trying to raise $10,000 and you get to $9,200. What are you going to do? If you're on Kickstarter, you're in deep doo-doo because you haven't funded. Get out your credit card and you fund the $800 yourself. That way, you'll get all the money. You can pay back your credit card and you're off and running. But just remember, the other thing is, I think it's also important to understand when you're raising money, let's say you're going to raise $5,000. And I think that you should allocate anywhere from 10% minimum to 20% towards your campaign cost, including the rewards, because you may have to buy some rewards. You may have to produce product for these rewards. There's a cost factor. Anywhere from 10, the most platforms will charge at least 5%, and then there is a percentage with credit cards and things like that that come into play. Come back and figure that out. And then what you do is that so if I need 5,000 and it's going to cost me another 20%, so I really need to raise 6,000. That's what you're after. All right. That's what you're after. All right. So next up, timing is important. I've mentioned that. So understand when pick it. Your pitch has got to be perfect. Your video, when you talk to people, and your writing. Cheat sheet, rewards are essential. Go back and re-look those over and make sure that they're the right fit and they match what you're asking for. If you're asking for $100, getting a postcard is not going to do it. So you got to come up with your variables in there. Remember that your friends and family are always essential. List building is essential. Social media is essential. And you've got to have a call to action. Call to action. This is going to be on your video. This is going to be on your content page. Call to action. Support your book. Use your title. Support your book. Support you. I look forward to having you as part of the successful creation of blah, 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 blah. That's what this is all about. So with that, we're going to close off. I want to thank all of you for being with me for this full hour. Now remember, your authoring and publishing success is always up to you. Always, it's up to you. Remember that your words matter. So let's get them out there. Let's get you supported. And make sure that you follow me on Twitter at MyBookShepherd and join the Book Shepherd group on Facebook. I'm Judith Briles. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles.